Ranking every Ninjago season on a tier list is probably a YouTube video that you have already watched, perhaps even many times over. So I'm not going to do that. Well, I am, but rather than ranking these seasons based on their writing, animation, sound design, general enjoyment, or literally anything reasonable, I will be ranking them based on my own MOCs and minifigures. I've made at least one custom project inspired by every season and major special of Ninjago, all the way from the pilot season to Dragon's Rising Season 3. However, some projects are better than others, and I've made more projects for some seasons than others. So it's going to be interesting to compare them and find out for which Ninjago season I have built the best selection of MOCs and minifigures. This is part 1 of 2, so in this video we will be ranking every season from the pilots until the movie. Then there will be a second part coming soon, where I'll be ranking every Ninjago season released after the movie. Because if I ranked everything in one video, it would be way too long. But without further ado, let's get started with the pilot season. So, for the pilots, we've got 7 MOCs, 4 of which are dragons. They're actually the 4 earliest dragons I've ever built. And, you can see some of these haven't aged the best. Rocky was the first dragon I ever built. He was quite fragile, I remember that much. And, I'm not too fond of the overall look. There's a lot of open studs everywhere, and the wings are big and gappy, and he's not the best. The next dragon I built was Shard. Shard was a bit more durable, but still fragile. And then when we get to Wisp and I've forgotten what the other one's called. Flame? Wisp and Flame. The builds are starting to get a bit more in line with my modern dragons. The heads are using slightly different techniques, like they got a thinner lower jaw and things like that. Like, I recently released a post of a new Earth dragon I've made, and you can just see the difference between these dragons right here and that one. Like, such different techniques nowadays, because like these were built in 2021, so they're quite old. There's also the 4 weapons, which is very cool, and I think a lot of the points for this category will be coming from that, because it's got this motorized function where Sensei Wu will spin across with his spinjitzu, and then there's also a motorized function for Kai fighting a skeleton and things like that. So it's been a few weeks since I filmed the bulk of this video, but in that time LEGO has revealed a new LEGO set of this location, and I've got to say, it completely blows mine out of the water. In looks, of course, though I still like how I got all the motorization and all that stuff in. But it kind of pales in comparison. I was making a lot of compromises, though, for getting those gears and stuff in there. And I didn't want the spinjitzu to just be in a straight line, kind of. Well, it is a straight line, but it's at an angle, and I kind of wanted that so it altered the shape and things like that, so yeah. But gotta say, the Legacy version looks very cool, and hopefully I'll be getting that next year, though I have no idea. We have another MOC with spinjitzu, which is Garmadon in the cave fighting the skeletons. That one's the latest MOC for the pilot season. It's also got lights for the spinjitzu tornado. The only other thing I haven't talked about is this Skull Construct microfighter. which is pretty cool still, but it's not getting the highest score. But overall, just because of how much stuff there is, and it really represents the season as a whole, despite the fact that some of the building techniques aren't quite to par with what I'm building nowadays, I think I'm still going to have to put it in the A tier. I think A tier is very fair for this. Next is Season 1. There's less for Season 1. We have the first MOC I built for Ninjago, which is this MOC of Garmadon attacking the Great Devourer from the Season 1 finale. You can tell it's quite old, and it was before I actually owned the official mold for the Sword of Fire, so if you look closely you can see that Garmadon's not actually holding the Sword of Fire, he's holding one of those Chima weapons. I'm also not a fan of the greens it chose for the tail, it clashes quite a bit. The ground is a bit cobbled, and the back is quite open from what I remember, though I never took any photos of that side, because it looks quite ugly. The Destiny's Bounty Microfighter is, again, quite an old build, and it doesn't hold up to some of my newer stuff. But I quite like it, it's simple. Though I'm not quite sure what's going on with the back there. There's... oh yeah, Garmadon saving Lloyd when he's being burnt up in the Fire Temple. I think that's episode 10 of Season 1. I like this MOC. It's quite a simple, small MOC, but it gets across the scene quite well, even though I would have liked to have some Serpentine in there. I don't actually have any Serpentine minifigures though, so that wasn't possible. Also, I think I'm using the old Lloyd head there, rather than the actually that is the old Lloyd rather than the legacy one. That's interesting. But yeah, quite like that MOC. There's also the motorized Destiny's Bounty would be the last thing to talk about when it comes to Season 1. It's quite cool in the way it works, though it doesn't have much steering. So those are the 4 things. Now, where do I rank them in comparison with the pilots? The build quality is about on par with those pilots, which is to say, not up to standard. But there's less of them, so it's definitely going lower. Though I am very nostalgic for Garmadon versus the Great Devourer, despite some of those ugly colours. I think I'll put it in B tier. C tier. That seems reasonable. Actually, no, there's some of these seasons I don't have a lot of MOCs for, so I'm gonna put it in B tier. Yeah. Bottom of B probably is where this is gonna fall at the end of the video, but we'll see. Next, let's get on to Season 2. Oh dear. I've only actually built one MOC for Season 2, and it's a Microfighter, so it's probably not going very high. D tier? I mean, it's not a bad Microfighter, it's the Garmatron, and you can definitely tell by looking at it that it is the Garmatron. But it's not enough to hold up this season on this tier list, especially when we're comparing it to seasons that have got quite a lot of projects. There are others where there's only one or two like this, but yeah, D tier. Okay, so for Season 3, we have the X1 Ninja Charger Microfighter. Of my original Microfighters, I think this is still my favourite. It looks quite cool, though the front is a bit questionable. I do like the use of studs on the side construction in the middle there. That's something I would very much do nowadays, and for the rear and things like that. But it's still struggling from those early technique problems where this is once again 2021. A lot of my OG Seasons MOCs are from the 2021 era. Which is when I was starting out. Ninjago 66 didn't even exist at that point. So, yeah, it's somewhat cool. We also have this Pixel minifigure that was made for a Season 4 MOC, but is mainly based on her Season 3 design, so I'm going to include it as a Season 3 project. It's pretty cool. There's some strange things here. Like, I've added rivets and things that aren't in the original design. I think there's also spots on her dress. There's something going on there. The face print is also a little dodgy, because this was made... I think the face print was made for the first advent calendar, which was one of the first minifig head prints that I'd made, because prior to that we had my brother as a superhero project, and that was it really. So I still hadn't gotten my bearings on minifig face prints, so that's going to knock this down a bit. It is better than Legacy of the Green Ninjas MOCs, just because there's a little bit extra with that minifigure, but I don't think it's enough to be in C tier, so we're going to put it just above in D tier. Now, it might seem that there's a lot of lower quality MOCs at the moment, but we're going to go on the up and up, and Season 4 is probably some of the best MOCs so far, though the quantity isn't as much as I had for the pilots. So let's take a look at that. Actually, no. There's more when it comes to Season 4 than there was for Season 3. I'm actually surprised by that. But we have a mixture of minifigures and MOCs here. We have a microfighter for the Anaconda Crusher and one for the Boulder Blaster. They're both pretty cool, though I'm not quite sure what's going on the edges of the Boulder Blaster, and I'm pretty sure that orange colour is wrong. I still like it though. The Anaconda Crusher feels like it holds up a bit better. Like, it looks a lot like the Anaconda Crusher, though there's not those propellers and things like that. Also, the back is a bit flat. That's strange. What else do we have? Oh yes, we have the beginnings of my custom Legacy series with Garmadon and Klaus. Garmadon is the most interesting Legacy figure I created, because he's the least accurate to his show design. Like, he has an Oni symbol on his back, if I remember. Let me take a look. Yep, he has an Oni symbol that's being surrounded by a dragon, which is cool in its symbolism to the show, but as a legacy design is a bit bizarre. It's also the dragon also is a weird pattern that the scales could be done a lot better, and I think an example of that would be my Woo that I made in, I think it was August. That Woo design is pretty cool. It's got these scales and things like that for a dragon, whereas this, not too fond of. The robes overall are pretty cool though, and a lot of this I wouldn't change if I was making it now. Just little things. Oh, and those shoes are horrendous. Klaus is pretty cool. His design is more cloaked than his intro one. I think I was taking some inspiration from his Skybound appearance, where he's got the hood though. What else do we have? Oh yeah, and then we have a mock of Garmadon and Klaus fighting. That's pretty cool. It's not the biggest thing, and it's quite raised up so that there's a hole for the portal to the Cursed Realm, as you can see in this image right here. When Klaus opens up the portal and Garmadon has to fight his way out of it. But it's a pretty cool mock overall. Though, ooh, I don't remember it looking quite like that. There's like this flat platform with a box underneath it, and that's just a bit strange. But this was made in February of 2024. Didn't realise I'd progressed that much in like a year and a half. We have a custom minifigure for Zane again, another custom minifigure. This one is a Legacy 2 suit, so it's very similar to those, though I was also taking inspiration from the titanium suit, so it's titanium coloured rather than in the white, which it would probably have been if it was an official suit. Though I did recolor it in white, so you can see what that looks like. I think both variants are pretty cool. Anything else to talk about with the season? Oh yeah, Titanium Dragon. The Titanium Dragon, it's quite a cool dragon. I haven't looked at this in a while. The legs don't have any posability. It's also never been built physically, so I can't talk about the stability of the build or anything like that. But it looks quite cool. Though it could have, again, more posability. It does look really cool when you put it in a cave. Now the cave build for this is very simple and it's just made of repetitive sections, so I could build it in a single day. It does look very good when you do the photo edit though with the Zane Vision. This Zane Vision was then redone, I guess, when I made my Ninjago Before the Merge story that used Zane POV. I think I prefer the way I did it in that, but this was like the stepping stone to get to that. So yeah, I think Season 4 has some pretty good mocks, some early minifigure errors and things like that. I think it belongs with the pilots, probably. Right next to it in A tier. Just a bit below, probably. Because, like, those pilot mocks really represent the season very well. This one, there's a lot that's missed. Like, nothing really screams tournament here. Yeah. I think it goes below. Possession. Whew, there's a lot to talk about here. So, microfighters. We have the Ronin Rex, another Destiny's Bounty, and the J vehicle he has at the end of that season. I think all of these are quite cool. They were made a lot later than all the microfighters I've talked about so far in this video, so the techniques are a bit more up to scratch, and the Destiny's Bounty, you can see that in a lot, with the back and the shaping and the sides and things. It looks a lot better, and I'm really fond of how that turned out. It looks like the earliest thing I built for Possession was in 2023, which kind of explains a lot of that. We also have this mock of Nia training. I really like this. This is still one of my favorite, location type mini builds, because it just looks kind of pretty the way it's done. I really like this. It's not very big, of course. I built this in like a single afternoon, but I still think that looks pretty cool and represents Nia's water training quite well, despite the fact the figure's the wrong one and things like that. But I don't have a lot of sets from early Ninjago, so I had to make do with what I had, which was the legacy version. Next, we have a collab with another Instagram creator. This is one of the coolest things I've ever had the pleasure of working on. It's quite a big build. How big is it? Or was it? It's probably a solid 80 centimeters, if I remember correctly, in width. It has a custom mech that's fighting the Zane Titan mech on the Wailing Alps. I'm sure a lot of you probably remember that scene from that episode where Zane's Titan mech is fighting the possessed Samurai X mech. It's quite a striking mock just because of how big it is. It also, as I said, was a collab, so the other guy who worked on this project, he then made this photo edit, like a poster edit, and it's very cool. I'm really proud of how this came out. Both of us are, and I really like that one. After that, Legacy series again. So we've got Legacy 3 Lloyd, the Night Watchman, Morrow, Possessed Lloyd, and Legacy 3 Kai. They're all pretty good minifigures. The Legacy 3 suits for Lloyd and Kai are very much inspired by the official Zane one, though some of the elements I changed a bit, and some things about these suits aren't up to scratch with the way I've been making them recently, though I did change the way I make suits super recently, so pretty much everything on this list will not match those standards. The Night Watchman is very simple and uses a face print that was not custom made. It's one from Studio itself, so it's not 100% accurate to what the Night Watchman's face looks like in the show, but it is accurate to what Lego would do in that sort of situation. Some of these these minifigures were used for 2 digital MOCs. We have this museum fight, which is probably the lesser of the 2 museum fights I've ever done, because this one is a lot smaller than the one. We'll actually be looking at the second one later in this video, because it's for Season 7, Hands of Time. But this one is a lot smaller than that one. It does have the snake statue, which Morrow possesses to capture Lloyd. It's got the box, it's got the sand, it's got a lot to it, and it kind of represents the scene well from possession. We also got the Chen poster, which is not poster, Chen painting, which is the only time I've really represented Chen in any of my builds, so that's pretty cool. If LEGO Studio had the, anaconda hair thingy, crown thingy, I don't know how to describe it, that Chen wears, maybe I would make a custom Chen figure. But it's hard to make something that looks like Chen if you're not using that piece. The last MOC to talk about is Kai fighting possessed Lloyd on a boat in the Snowyscape. This one's okay. It's based around the scene where they're fighting Morrow after he gets away with the sword on the mountain. It's not the craziest MOC, but it is pretty cool. I would probably have duplicated the snow a bit more and things like that if I was making it nowadays, just so that all the shots have snow everywhere in shot. It doesn't take very long to do that, but adds a long way to these digital builds. And then the last thing to talk about is a what-if scenario minifigure, which is a very big contrast to this Possessed Lloyd, because the Possessed Lloyd is based around the Legacy 3 variant I made for Lloyd. The Possessed J version is based around the Legacy 3 version of J I made shortly after. But the way I've done things is a lot cooler on this later one, because the robes are a bit neater in the way they're presented. Like, they still look messy, but not in the flat way that the one from 2024 does. And with the colours and things, it really brings to life the Possessed J in it, which I think is very cool, and brings across extra elements that are on the official Possessed Lloyd from 2015 that I didn't do on the Legacy version and things like that. Also, the Possessed Lloyd version, you just uses the Morrow head rather than making a new one, things like that. So I think the Possessed J is much cooler, but we're not here to rank my possession MOCs and minifigures against each other. We're here to rank them against other MOCs, and I think in that regard it has to be an S tier season, just because of how much good stuff there is in here. Like, there's the Wailing Alps, there's the museum fight, there is the Nia water training, there's some great minifigures, there's just a lot here to like, so S tier. Season 6, a little less here, but still quite a bit for this list standards. We have a MOC from 2023, which is... Wait, this was from 2023? It's the Library of Domu, where we've got Zane and Lloyd looking for clues on why Master Wu disappeared, and Ronan ambushes them. It's quite a cool MOC, and there is a feature for one of the bookshelves to fall over, which is pretty neat. The floor is not tiled off, which is something I would do nowadays. It's just with that studded effect. But for a physical MOC, and I don't have a lot of pieces, I understand why I did it that way. I quite like this. Yeah. We also have Sticks, where Klaus has freed Nardakan from the teapot of Tyran, and of course that includes a new custom minifigure for Nardakan, which I had an obsession of just giving these characters robes at this point, because like the official minifigure has green armor. This, I've given him a red armor with a green robe over the top, which is a bit strange. I do like how I've got the pocket watch with Dalara's face on it. That's pretty cool. And Nardakan's face print isn't too bad. I was starting to get a hang of my custom face prints by this point. The eyes are a sort of reasonable size. Yeah, I quite like that face print for Nardakan, actually. Quite a good minifigure. Then we have our custom J for his Legacy 3 look, and a custom Dalara minifigure, which is when Nia has her wedding dress, and then Nardakan uses his magic to make... I don't know how to describe it, really. I never really had to describe it, but like... I guess in a way possesses Nia, so that she's Dalara? I don't know. But it's quite a cool dress. We've got those spiky flowers along the sides, which is, I don't think, accurate to Skybound. I would have to take a look. I think that's just something I made up myself. It's quite a cool dress design there. The one in the show has like this bulge at the bottom. This one just uses the standard dress piece. But a lot of this stuff was for this mock of Ninjago, and this is one of my favourites, actually, of these digital landscape builds. Like, I like all the rocky effects and all these little islands. It ended up being quite big, I think 4,000 pieces, which I mean is nothing compared to some of my recent builds. Thinking of the Land of Lee here with its 100,000, but this one is very cool, and I think Skybound is going to be carried a bit by that, and some of the great minifigures, because I mean there's only 3 MOCs here, but what we have is very good. I think it's going top of 8 here. I think that's reasonable. So, Dave the Departed. Day of the Departed is one where I've only actually built 2 MOCs. But I also have... I've just realised. With Skybound I forgot to mention something. There's actually a microfighter for Skybound. I forgot to mention that. Here it is, Misfortune's Keep. I'm not going to change Skybound's placement because of it, but I forgot to mention it, so I'll mention it now. Then let's get back to Day of the Departed. Day of the Departed only has 2 MOCs. One is a microfighter of the Ultrasonic Raider. I'm not a fan of this. It looks very flat. The other is of Sensei Yang's temple, where Cole fights... Well, it's like the ground floor of Sensei Yang's temple, and where Cole breaks the vase with the Jin blade, and... Not the Jin blade, where Cole breaks the vase with the Yin blade, and all of the departed souls get released and things like that, with those custom minifigures for Legacy 3 Cole, Yang, and the Ghost Student. Overall, not bad. I think B tier? What did I say about the season 1 things again? Let me think. Yeah, I think it's ever so slightly worse than that. I think beta is good. Season 7. Season 7 is, once again, basically 2 projects, where we have this microfighter for the Iron Doom. It's a pretty good microfighter. Excuse me. I didn't have a minifigure for Crux or Chronix, so I had to make something out of random parts, which kind of holds this back a bit, but it's a cool project. Then we have my custom minifigures for Legacy 3, Nia, Crux, and Chronix, which were built for the second museum fight. Now this is what I think is the better of the 2 museum fight MOCs I've built. It's based on, I think, the 3rd episode of Season 7, where Kai finds out that Sanders is Crux, and they have their whole fight scene. A lot of the details here are based specifically on what you can see in that episode, such as the giant statues, the Egyptian coffin, the wheelchair, the snake throne, the picture of Kai's parents, which of course was needed for this shot where you can see them in the background, which is meant to represent that thing where he gets the revelation that his parents are traitors, even though we all know they weren't. Yeah, I quite like this MOC, and it's probably gonna carry Season 7 over the Microfighter. It belongs in B tier with Day of the Departed, I think. It is marginally better, so I'm gonna put it just above it. And I have one last thing to rank in this video, even though it's not on this tier list. This is just one I found, but that would be the movie. I'll put an indication on this tier list at the end where I decided to put it. But the movie, I just have like 6 microfighters. So we're basically talking about a microfighter series here. The first of the, well, what we have here is a custom fire mech, which is one of the earlier microfighter mechs I made. And microfighter mechs are really hard. They don't lend themselves. Mechs don't lend themselves to microfighters. And I can really tell when looking at this. That one's probably the worst of the bunch. Though we also have this mini mech dragon, the mini water strider, Zane's ice tank, the Garmadon shark, and Jay's jet. So quite a cool selection. And a mixed bag of quality where the fire mech is definitely the worst. The water strider is probably the second worst of the bunch. But I really like the Garmadon shark, whatever. I can't remember what it's called. Does it have a name? I think the set's just called Garmadon. But the Garmadon shark's probably the best of these microfighters. Either that or the J jet. I really like those two. And they're probably going to carry it. If this tier list had the movie, I would probably put it in B tier along with these ones. Probably here. Just imagine the movies there. But yeah, this video has been going on
for quite a while now. I said I would only rank this far just because there is so much to talk about, and I didn't want this video to go on forever. So, yeah, we'll get round to the rest of these in the second part, as I said in the intro. If you want to see that video, subscribe. Please let me know what you thought of this video in the comments, and I'll see you soon with that one. Goodbye.